tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tisaranakammanang nittitang. Panatipata. Okay, now repeat after me. Make it easy.
Panatipata.
Veramani.
Veramani.
Sikapadang samadhiyami.
Sikapadang samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from intentionally killing living beings.
I take the precept from intentionally taking the life of living beings.
Adinadana Veramani.
Adinadana Veramani.
Sikapadang samadhiyami.
Sikapadang samadhiyami.
I refrain from intentionally lying or distorting the truth.
I refrain from intentionally lying or distorting the truth.
Kamesu michachara.
Kamesu vichachara.
Veramani.
Veramani.
Sikapadang samadhiyami.
Sikapadang samadhiyami.
I refrain from sexual misconduct.
I refrain from sexual misconduct.
Musawada.
Musawada.
Veramani.
Veramani.
Sikapadang samadhiyami.
Sikapadang samadhiyami.
I refrain from taking that which is not given freely.
I refrain from taking that which is not given freely.
Surameraya.
Surameraya.
Maja pamadatana.
Maja pamadatana.
Veramani.
Veramani.
Sikapadang samadhiyami.
Sikapadang samadhiyami.
I refrain from intentionally taking intoxicants that lead to carelessness.
I refrain from taking intoxicants which leads to carelessness.
Imani pancha sikapadani silena sugatingyante silena bhoga sampada silena nipatingyante tasma silang visotaye. For relationship to last a long time, the basis for any relationship is a sense of trust. A marriage, but also any relationship that we have, relationship with friends, relationships with our parents, people that we work with. But especially in a marriage, if you dedicate yourself to another person, then there has to be a very solid foundation of trust, so that sense of worries don't creep in, sense of deep friendship, appreciation, mutual respect become qualities that sustain the relationship for the long haul. And there are certain qualities which, if people develop in equal proportions, more or less equal proportions, and then the relationship has a chance of, a good chance of remaining healthy and happy for a long time. Now, one is the qualities of morality, which I touched on with the 5 precepts. So basically, the idea is people have different standards of morality in life. And a couple that has a similar standard of morality is going to get along better in the long run. So it's good to clarify that between people, so there aren't misunderstandings, so there aren't expectations. That's one reason why the 5 precepts is very helpful. At least if we know, that both people in a relationship are dedicated to telling the truth, for example. They're dedicated to telling the truth, the 2nd precept. Then that's a very solid foundation for being able to trust the other person. If we know the other person's dedicated to nonviolence, then that's a very solid foundation for creating an open and loving heart. If we know the other person's dedicated to no sexual misconduct, for example, having extramarital affairs, then we have a lot of confidence that the relationship is going to last. If we know the other person is dedicated to honesty and not stealing, then again, we can trust the person. And if the other person is dedicated to not becoming intoxicated, either through alcohol or drugs, then that also leads to a sense of trust, because even when a person is good-hearted and we know them well, sometimes under the influence of alcohol and drugs, they can do things that they normally wouldn't do. So as a foundation for developing a wholesome, happy, long-lasting, solid relationship, which is actually going to lead to happiness, then there are some basic nuts and bolts principles which are very helpful, such as these moral guidelines. Also, if people have a similar interest in inner peace, that helps a lot, because meditation is very helpful in many ways. It's not just a Buddhist technique. You don't have to be a Buddhist to practice meditation. Anyone could benefit from it. It has benefits for our health, for our concentration. Basically, whatever we do, we can do it more effectively. If we're able to concentrate and focus our attention. But probably the most important benefit of meditation is having some way to regularly bring a sense of peace into our own heart. Otherwise, what can happen is the little stresses in life gradually build up here and there, and if we don't have a way of releasing them, the little stresses in life gradually develop a background of anxiety, and then we become short-tempered, and then maybe our partner does something a little bit that we don't like, and then we kind of blow up, and then that can harm the relationship. Whereas if we regularly meditate, it helps us to be much more patient. So, of course, everyone has their own personality and idiosyncrasies, and at first the idiosyncrasies in your partner may seem really cute, but after a few years they may become really irritating. So then you have to have this sense of patience, a sense of patience with the other person. And that really goes together with a sense of acceptance. So whatever it is, we just try to accept the person the way they are. without trying to change them, because that's another stressor for a relationship sometimes. We think, oh, this person's quite good. If I only change them a bit, then they'll be really good. But of course, that's placing expectations on a person and on a relationship. Whereas if we just learn how to accept people really as they are, with all of their faults as well as their strengths. We all have wonderful qualities, and we all sometimes have shortcomings, places that we're not very good, places where maybe a bit of a blind spot. So learning to accept people just the way they are is an important aspect of any relationship. And certainly meditation helps a lot, just because it helps us to calm down a bit, makes us feel a bit more spacious. And then it's a lot easier to be patient. It's a lot easier to be forgiving. One of these qualities that we emphasize a lot in Buddhism is forgiveness, because we all make mistakes sometimes, either mistakes that we perceive as mistakes, or maybe we don't think they're mistakes, but other people think they're mistakes. So whatever it is, it's good just to keep that as a guiding principle in a relationship as well. Sense of forgiveness, and forgiving ourselves, very important, forgiving the other person. Whether it's a small thing or a big thing, when forgiveness becomes a habit, then we don't allow things to gradually build up. If we keep asking for forgiveness and giving forgiveness on a regular basis, then it's like we keep starting fresh. And we don't carry the past with us. Because that's when the past can become a bit of a burden. If we're carrying it with us and remember, last year he did this, she said that, like that. It's good just to be able to forgive and discuss, and then let it go. So this is a very important aspect of learning how to live harmoniously in any relationship, in any walk of life. Learning how to forgive, let go. But of course, that takes some wisdom. That takes a bit of wisdom. And for any relationship to survive, there'll be a lot of opportunity for developing wisdom, because when everything's beautifully nice, wonderful, the honeymoon year, then you don't have to have a lot of wisdom, because everything feels wonderful. Right? It's a bit like being in heaven. Everything's wonderful. But as time goes on, then sometimes there might be things which test us, which either in the relationship itself or external circumstances, feeling stress at work or in a career or other relationships outside of marriage, with parents, family, children, whatever, right? That will be opportunities then for developing wisdom. Otherwise, they're just opportunities for suffering. When everything's going very well, you feel very peaceful. It's easier to feel peaceful and happy. But of course, life is never always smooth. It's a bit of a roller coaster ride. Sometimes we get what we want, sometimes we don't. Sometimes things are pleasant, sometimes things are unpleasant. So when things are pleasant, then good, wonderful. This is a result of our past good karma. But when things are unpleasant, then we have to use our wisdom, our intelligence, our contemplation in order to find a way that this is not going to be a big problem. Just because something is unpleasant or we don't get what we want is not necessarily a problem in and of itself. If we have wisdom, say, okay, that's fine. Just let go. Just let go. And so this is a guiding principle. Looking to see where we're holding on or clinging too tightly. Because in relationships, if we cling to the other person as being mine too strongly, then that in itself can undermine the relationship. So it's quite a balance between same time not grasping. It's a bit like, if you have a baby bird in your hand, you have to be very careful how you hold a baby bird, because if you hold it too carelessly, if you're not mindful, the baby bird can fall out of your hands and die or get hurt. But if you have a baby bird and you're like so concerned about it, you hold it so tightly like this, you could crush it and kill it. And so a relationship is similar. You have to hold it with a great sense of care and nurturing, a great amount of love. But at the same time, we have to realize that, well, even if the other person is our husband or wife, they don't belong to us in the sense that they're not our possession, right? Because if we cling too tightly, then we can kind of stifle the other person and in a sense kill the relationship. So this is an ongoing balance, which of course takes a lot of wisdom. Yeah, it takes wisdom. And every situation in life is an opportunity for learning. So if you take your marriage, your relationship as your teacher, then with that attitude, you can become quite wise. Just take everything that comes as an opportunity to learn something. So that way, when it's fun, wonderful, it's great. But even when there's times of maybe misunderstanding, don't think of it as something that's gone wrong necessarily. Just think of it as, oh, this is a good opportunity. It's a good opportunity to learn something. Good opportunity to grow. So in that way, the whole relationship, if you're really dedicated to it, then becomes a way to practice the Dhamma. And what we mean by the Dhamma is, Dhamma essentially means nature and the laws of nature, and learning how to live in harmony with the laws of nature. This is really what Dhamma is. And the teachings of the Buddha are the teachings which encourage us to live in harmony with the laws of nature. But of course this really takes a bit of investigation sometimes, because sometimes our desires, our aspirations, our clinging can blind us to the way nature really works. But a relationship that is based on Dhamma, then that's going to be a very strong relationship, and it's going to have the potential to really give one a sense of peace and contentment in life. So if you take these basic principles, a strong moral foundation together, so you have a lasting relationship, that's very important. Both open-hearted and generous, that's very important. Both appreciate a sense of peace, inner peace, and serenity, and how important that is, and find times in your life to encourage that. For example, if someone wants to meditate, then don't, encourage them in that. If someone wants to meditate, it's not a selfish thing, even though they may be doing it alone. Because if someone is able to make their heart peaceful and reduce their anger and frustration, that's the greatest gift we can give to the people around us. It increases a sense of harmony. So encouraging, activities that would lead to a sense of inner peace, serenity, and that makes developing wisdom so much easier in life. Because when the mind is calmer, we're a lot more easily able to see things as they truly are, without projecting. Because it's so easy just to project a whole array of reasons and motivations on other people that aren't necessarily there. If we just calm our mind a little bit, then it helps us to see clearly. We can appreciate another person just as they are, this leads to ease in being able to live a harmonious life and having a harmonious relationship. So, offer this for your reflection this morning. Now we have some chanting that we do.